Islam, peace and hotep. Want to say welcome to the family, to our correction session, because we know that there's a lot, a lot going on right now, and if the Moors take the position of sitting back and doing nothing, our people would continue to suffer, because the real deal is that what's going on right now, not just in North America, but in the world, is a Moorish renaissance. People could make whatever claims they want, call themselves whatever they want, that's on them. But the reality of the situation is that at this time, right now, it is important that people are clear in their mind as to where they stand in the grand scheme of life. I was, as I'm getting ready for the lecture coming up in Cincinnati, cutting up covers and burning DVDs and stuff like that, I was listening to a video by Great Millstone, Philadelphia yesterday, called Moorish Americans' Weak Argument. You can go watch it yourself to see what went down or whatever. But we need to address some things that were stated in that video, because, like I said, if Moors continue to play this game, that they're not going to get involved in certain stuff when people are directly, one, denationalizing, continuing the denationalization of Moors by calling them everything in the book that they are, instead of being honest with them and telling them truthfully what's going on. And two, if we as Moors don't step up to the plate and address these misconceptions that people who claim to know their self keep putting out there, causing confusion, confusion continues. So we just wanted to get some things on the record to correct the great Millstone Hebrew Israelites, so that they know that some Moors that are out here really do know what's up. Some Moors that are out here really have the foundational information to assist our people in getting themselves out of the mental slavery that we see that they have now, including all these people that are calling themselves anything except Moors, and claiming that they have knowledge of self, and claiming that they have some authority from some god, or wherever they claim they get this authority from. All these imaginary beings that they get authority from. The people have to understand, without a shadow of a doubt, the people have to understand that just like in law, that there's two persons, natural, living, sentient person, and corporate person, in learning, there's two perspectives. There's exoteric and esoteric. Exoteric perspective is external. Exoteric perspective is outside yourself. Exoteric perspective is, God in the sky, devil in the ground. Exoteric perspective is, salvation comes from praying and, doing rituals outside of yourself. Esoteric is self-realization. Esoteric, right, is internalization. Esoteric is where the people have to be if they're going to be free from this mental slavery that they have right now. The only way that the people are going to be free is if they adopt esoteric principles in their learning. If they do not gravitate to esoteric teachings, they will continue to be lost, classified as somebody's property, and would never see freedom, ever, ever. I don't care what they know. I don't care how much books they have. I don't care who's their teacher. If they're not being taught, and if they're not studying esoteric, they're already lost, right? So we want to correct some things, put some things on the record again, because it seems like, these individuals that call themselves Hebrew Israelites, whether it's Great Millstone, whether it's, ISP, UK, whatever the hell they call themselves, whatever, all these people acknowledge the fact that they're Israelites. They acknowledge that they're Israelites. And only one of those individuals, from what I've seen, only one of those individuals that calls themselves Israelite can prove it by showing me identification. One. And that's the mighty Hebrew. Right? Go back, check the record. He's always on Sodnet or TV. You've seen him on there. And he's the only Hebrew that I've heard not only could prove that he's Israelite by showing identification, but he also is in unity with where the Moors stand with regard to nationality and birthrights. And he doesn't have an argument about that. We're not talking about the teachings and the inside workings of the different schools of thought. We're talking about general concept. There's no argument. Why? Because if he claims that he's Hebrew Israelite, he has a nationality card to prove that he's that. So we honor that. We'll respect that position, because at least he can show something. All these other soapbox Negroes that call themselves something that they're not, they're all running a fraud. They're all continuing the mental enslavement of their people under the guise of quote-unquote religious ideals. Right? So we told people that Moors be like, don't listen to the Hebrew Israelites. Here's the real 12 tribes. So this is really the 12 tribes of Israel that the Hebrews, the soapbox Hebrews, the Hebrews that still classify their people as black and all that, this is really the 12 tribes. There's no tribes as in names of, different whatever that people belong to because they're Negro, because they're Native American, because they're Mongolian, Asian, what? All that is fraud. All that is exoteric. You said in the beginning, if you are going to be free, you better start adopting some esoteric principles into your life. If you are not adopting esoteric, guaranteed you are going to be lost in the sauce and you'll be a nigger forever. Just watching YouTube videos and not doing anything in life to validate the position that you hold in your mind. The 12 tribes of Israel is the 12 signs of the Zodiac. That's what it is. Nothing to debate. That's what it is. If you want to continue listening to exoteric teachings and people telling you about God and Simeon and Reuben and all this crap, you go right ahead. Because like we said before, you have a right to be a stupid, incompetent idiot. You have that right if you want to do that. If you don't want to be stupid, incompetent, and classified as a fool, you would adopt some esoteric principles. Moors be like, don't listen to the Hebrew Israelites. Here's the real 12 tribes. Here's the real 12 tribes. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. That's the 12 tribes. We're just going to back that up. The 12 tribes of Israel and our 12 cranial nerves. In the second chapter of the biblical book called Numbers, God gives Moses instructions as to how the 12 tribes of Israel were to camp around the tabernacle. Unbeknownst to most casual readers of the Bible, this is all symbolism for the brain. The 12 tribes of Israel represent the 12 cranial nerves. Edgar Casey, a Christian who would receive esoteric knowledge while in a trance-induced state, mentioned this decades ago. He was dead on. We'll get to the bottom of why in a moment. First, take a mental snapshot and remember it in the near future. So the mental snapshot is that the brain, right? So picture the brain. Close your eyes, picture the brain. And picture the 12 cranial nerves. The 12 cranial nerves that are part of our coming into ourselves. They're part of what we need in order to use our brain. Without the 12 cranial nerves, your brain is useless. Again, unbeknownst to most casual readers of the Bible, which includes these Hebrew Israelite guys, this is all symbolism for the brain. The 12 cranial nerves regulate touch, taste, smell, sight, hearing, balance, movement, and much more. They are responsible for how you interact with and interpret your environment. In other words, they help define your reality. As we'll detail in a moment, the tabernacle is another symbol for the brain. Now imagine the scene we have thus far. The Israelites' cranial nerves are camped around the tabernacle, the brain, as commanded by God. The Israelites connect and interact with God through a spiritual purification process inside the tabernacle, which is another way of showing how the 12 cranial nerves connect with and interact with the brain and the rest of the body. Both the tabernacle and the brain are comprised of three main parts. The three portions of the brain are the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The three components of the tabernacle are the outer court, the sanctuary, and the Holy of Holies. Since we are discussing how the kingdom of God is within you, esoteric, it is important to realize that your brain is very similar to the tabernacle, in that it has an outer court, a holy place, and most holy place as well. Sending kundalini, cosmic energy, into the Holy of Holies of your brain allows us to experience a cosmic union with God on higher conscious dimensions. You don't hear Hebrew Israelites talk like this. All you hear them do is pull Bibles out and have some parrot, some puppet that they have on a string that just joined this so-called school of thought, and have them yelling at the top of their lungs verses out of so-called holy book that was created by man, who they don't even know, that they never even met, that they don't even have any type of contact to call and verify whether this book is legit or not. And people are going to listen to these clowns when all they're practicing is exoteric constantly. Go look at all their stuff. All the Hebrews, go look at their stuff. All they do is exoteric, 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 exoteric. They never introduce to the people esoteric concepts. Why? Because as soon as the esoteric concept is introduced, the person who brought you the esoteric concept becomes unimportant, because they're not needed, because it's all about you. So they're going to take the position of keeping things exoteric so that they're constantly needed. You hear these individuals call themselves Hebrew Israelite speak from the perspective that they know themselves. If they knew themselves, they wouldn't be calling themselves Hebrew Israelite. If they had any common sense, they would recognize that Hebrew Israelites are a group of Moors. Hebrew Israelites aren't their own entity. Hebrew Israelites are a group of Moors. So we're going to go to the Word, the Israelites, and the Damned, edited by Shadrach. You know who this is or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's not something brought up much, but, you know, Moors study all schools of thought. Moors been in all schools of thought, right? We're going to go to page 66, just so that, and we're going to put this on the record, just so that people can be clear as to teachings of the Israelites come from many different sources. And there, like I said in the beginning, there are some Israelites who know what's up. And they'll tell you and let you know what's up. They will let you know what's up. Page 66. In 1076, a Muslim sect known as the Almoravids invaded Ghana. causing devastating consequences. They ravaged and plundered, then imposed heavy taxes while forcing the Israelites to convert to Islam. We already know that the Muslims are the Moors. This is why they're going so hard, at Moors, Moorish American, fake, whatever, and Moorish science not real, all this kind of crap. Right? Because everybody got their ass kicked by the Moors. The Europeans got their ass kicked by the Moors. So-called Moors, who didn't want to be Moors, they want to be Israelites and stuff like that. They want to start following all this other stuff. You know what I mean? When Islam is really ancient Islam, Islamism is really all these things encompassed, all these different schools of thought or whatever in one school of thought. How come you never heard of some Israelites that went somewhere and built universities and built all these stuff? Only Moors did that, historically. And again, anytime you hear Muslim and you invaded, a Muslim sect or whatever invaded something, know that that was the Moors going in there and getting these people back in order with the laws of the universe and the laws of nature that they strayed away from. They ravaged and plundered. Ravaged and plundered. Now, it's a documented fact that the Moors, i.e. Muslims, went into places and built stuff, built up civilization. Why? Because the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic culture that you can go get G.M. James' book, Stolen Legacy, where he tells you that ancient Kemet transferred everything that they had to the Moors before Kemet fell. And then the Moors took that information to the four corners of the earth. That doesn't sound like pillaging and ravaging to me. Since the Muslims control the external commercial routes, so the Muslims controlled the external commercial routes. Controlled. This is an Israelite talking. So they know, the Israelites know that at one time in history, the Muslims, aka Moors, controlled the external commercial routes. Many Israelites adopted Islam in the late 10th and 11th centuries, but only as a matter of expediency. While Islam became the imperial cult and the philosophy of the state elite and traders, the rural population maintained their Israelite customs. What Israelite customs? The Israelite customs that they stole from the Canaanites. Because you already know El comes from the Canaanites. There's a god in Canaan named El. That these individuals have those names now perpetrating a fraud that's theirs. When everything that the Israelites have, they got from the Canaanites. That's why the early Hebrew Israelites worshiped Baal as their god. This is a fact. Not even nothing that you can't find out on Google and have multiple sources tell you that the Canaanites are the forefathers of the Hebrews, the Israelites. Fact. Which is why now Noble Ali told the Moors that they're descendants of the Asian Canaanites because everybody comes out of Moors. And everybody is and are and forever will be Moors if they are melanated people. They could call themselves whatever that they want and assume stuff and, make videos, talk crap about Moors. They're Moors. And if they don't want to be Moors, that either means that they work for the other side or they love their denationalization. Ghana set the pattern for successive West African Israelite empires. All of a sudden, there's Israelite empires now. Both Mali and Songhai became more prosperous in turn. The Israelite king Sundiata built the Mali kingdom from the ruins of Ghana and in 1238 founded the Mali Empire. The popular Israelite explorer Mansa Musa converted to Islam and ruled from 1307 to 1332. Now, so Mansa Musa is what they say a popular Israelite explorer. But then they say he was converted to Islam. Now, if somebody converts to something, either they willingly convert or they convert by force. And they never specified which one Mansa Musa did. The other key point is that when you research Mansa Musa, you find out that he's known in history as a Malian Moor. How come he's not known as Israelite in history? How come all these individuals who know of Mansa Musa, who know of his traveling all over the world, never identify him as an Israelite? Only Israelites do that. Everybody else recognizes Mansa Musa as a Malian Moor. Documented fact. Go check. Don't believe anything that I'm saying. Due to his leadership, the wealth, grandeur, and dignity of Mali was recognized worldwide. Songhai replaced Mali in 1488 under Sunni Ali, another Islamic convert who merely paid lip service to the cult. So, Sunni Ali, okay, let's just see what's going on here. Let's check this. Let's just check another reference point just to see if, what's being put out here is legit. Because they're talking about people converting and stuff like that. They talk about people converting. And it's real interesting that the perspective that they talk about is as if everybody was, against Islam. Nobody was against Islam. Everybody was down with Islam. Right? Now they mentioned Ghana and all that stuff. Right? So let's just see right here. Page 11, the royal kingdoms of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. The same places that all the Israelites are talking about, right? Page 11. Page 11. The first scholars to write about Ghana never visited it personally. Al-Bukhari, an 11th century Moorish nobleman who lived in Cordoba, Spain, then controlled by Islamic Moors, was curious about the people and customs below the Sahara. Seems like people know a lot more about the Moors than these Hebrew Israelites are putting on. Because they're really making it seem like people were against the Moors. Page 100. Leo Africanus was the first person to write an eyewitness account of the Songhai Empire that was translated into a language other than Arabic. He was born in Granada, Spain, the same year Sunni Ali Bear began his reign as Al-Hassan ibn Muhammad al-Wazan al-Zayati. Granada had just surrendered to Ferdinand and Isabella, who immediately issued the Edict of Expulsion in 1492, ordering the removal of all Muslims and Jews who refused to convert to Christianity. Like thousands of others, Leo went to Fez with his parents. The returning Moors were not greeted with welcome arms. Forced to live in special quarters, Leo studied at one of the Fez centers for aliens. Then he became a traveler, ventured down into Sudan, where he visited Timbuktu, Gao, and Jenny. So people are going around studying. And when they study the history of Songhai, Ghana, and Mali, they're finding out that there's an actual connection to Islam with these places. But the Israelites are going to tell you that Islam came and forced itself on these individuals, on these nations, on these empires and kingdoms. When the reality is that everybody was Islamic. Everybody was down with Islam. And we're not talking about running around a cube, kissing a black stone, and crap like that that people say is Islam today. We're talking about the esoteric. We're not talking about the exoteric, like what you see today Muslims doing, wearing hijabs and, salat, go to Hajj, Mecca, and all that stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about esoteric. We're talking about traders. We're talking about high-level Masons, not some people in some lodge or whatever. Right? Songhai replaced Mali in 1488 under Sunni Ali, another Islamic convert who merely paid lip service to the cult. On the other hand, Askia Muhammad I took full advantage of the Islamic cult to achieve his political objectives. He greatly expanded and improved the educational, political, and economic systems while ruling Songhai from 1493 to 1528. In 1591, another Islamic invasion brought an end to the Songhai Empire. So all they do is talk about Islam invasion, Islam invading, Islam invading, doing this to the Israelites, Islam doing this to the, right? Most black people of the Americas, quote unquote Israelites, are taught only of the evils of the white man or European, but very little or nothing is ever mentioned concerning the atrocities of the black Muslims or Arabs towards the Israelites. Now once again, just like today, right? Just like today, 2015, when you hear Moors, Islam to brother Rami Salam El, who did a great job, slapping David Banner, slapping Polite, slapping Sarnetter, all these so-called fakers who know that they're Moors, know that their people are Moors, but they want to play this game that, they don't know who they are. We don't know what to call ourselves. When they know that they're Moors. The Hebrew Israelites know that they're Moors. They'll tell you, Moors are Hebrew Israelites. Okay, so if Moors are Hebrew Israelites, then that means Hebrew Israelites are Moors. What's the problem? Moors could prove that we're Moors. We don't have to prove that we're Hebrew Israelites. Hebrew Israelites can't prove that they're Hebrew Israelites. And they don't want to prove that they're Moors. Because if they prove, like the mighty Hebrew proved, that Israelites are aboriginal and indigenous to this land, which means that they're Moors, then Hebrew Israelites become unpopular. That's why the mighty Hebrew is not popular. That's why you don't hear him talking or stuff like that. All these individuals that are playing this game of it doesn't matter what you call yourself, or call yourself something that doesn't even exist right now. People talking about Israel, Holy Land, when that's taken over. And they're talking about, yeah, you know, bombs are going to drop on America because of, you know, evil stuff that... All I see is bombs dropping where you guys say that your homeland or whatever. I don't see nothing going on over here. I ain't heard no bomb drop on America, ever. I ain't hear nobody bomb over here. How come? This is wicked Babylon and all that, and this is Sodom and Gomorrah, and, you know, the whores of Babylon are here. Why hasn't anybody bombed here yet? If it's so evil here. Matter of fact, if it's so evil here, why are you Hebrews still here? Why you go back where you come from? No different than the people who say that they are African slaves. They came over here on a slave ship. What are you still doing here? Why are you still in the slave master's land? If you were bought here as a slave, then why don't you go back where you come from? If you're Israelite and this isn't where you're from, why are you still here? Why don't you just leave? But they're not going to do that, you know, because when they leave and they go over there, they're going to be getting the same thing that the Africans are getting right now in Israel, getting their ass kicked and slaughtered because they're somewhere that they're not supposed to be. Because you already gave up your birthright. Don't come over here talking now that you want stuff back. Beat it. You're not getting anything. Time's over. There's a new head nigger in charge now. Again, forget these guys and their exoteric, right? They push exoteric. I'm not assuming that. I'm telling you that they are exoteric pushers. And if anybody is pushing exoteric to you and not pushing esoteric to you, they're a fraud. And because they're a fraud, you need to eliminate these people from your consciousness as soon as possible. If you don't want to do that, fine, don't. You have a right to be dumb nigger and get whatever abuse that you get. Because trust me, don't get caught up. Well, we'll deal with that before we close. We got some more stuff to go through right here. In the Torah portion of Vayechi, Vayechi, which closes the book of Genesis, we read how Jacob blesses his children, the 12 tribes, in the last days. In these blessings lie many secrets foretelling events to come. As the verse tells us, and Jacob called to his sons and said, "Gather together, that I may tell you what will happen with you in the end of days." Joseph is the element of suffering in life, yet he only survives. Yet he not only survives, he thrives. He achieves greatness through his challenges. He overcomes all adversities and becomes a great leader, saving his entire generation. Despite his corrupt environment, he maintains his spiritual integrity. The powerful light that emerges from darkness in Joseph divides into two dimensions, his two sons, Menashe and Ephraim. Reuben, the first, Simeon, the aggressor, Levi, the cleric, Judah, the leader, Dan, the judge, Naphtali, the free spirit, Gad, the warrior, Asher, the prosperous one, Issachar, the scholar, Zebulon, the business person, Joseph, the sufferer, Menashe, the reconnection, Ephraim, transformation, Benjamin, the ravenous consumer. Reuben, the firstborn, represents the powerful energy of everything that comes first, the first fruit, first moments of the day, the beginning of every creation, has enormous amounts of energy, unstable like water, This power can go either way. If harnessed properly, Reuben's energy can change worlds. If abused, it can destroy. Like water, it can be a source of life, but if left unchanneled, it erodes its environment and can flood its surroundings. Oh yeah, and Islam to the 11 Moors. That's online right now. Peace, love, and hotel. Just have to put that out there because you already know. Simeon is aggressive, the antithesis of Reuben's water. The fierce anger and cruel wrath that can result from unbridled Gevurah must be eliminated lest it turns into weapons of violence that consume the person and all those he comes in contact with. The lesson of this today is self-understood. Levi is the tribe chosen to serve in the temple. Levi also means attached or joined. Levi is the personality of dedicating your life to serving a higher calling, of freeing yourself from your bounds to material survival and attaching yourself to divine service. Once again, esoteric versus exoteric. Judah means acknowledgement. Judah's name also includes the 4 letters of the divine name Havaya. Judah is the leader. His descendants would be kings of Israel, beginning with King David and concluding with Mashiach. Judah is the path of selflessness, the most vital ingredient in true leadership. Dan is the path of law and order. Dan means judge. Objective justice is the heart of any civilization. Naphtali is the free spirit personality, like a deer running free, breaking out of the status quo. Independence is a necessary component in growth. Yet, this free-spiritedness must always take care to deliver words of beauty. God is the warrior archetype. Expanding on justice of Dan, God is ready to fight for his beliefs. The warrior is necessary to both defend our cherished values and to protect our freedoms. Asher is both prosperity and pleasure. Asher is the dimension of blessing beyond the norm, to be given more than what is necessary for survival. Asher is the personality of not just getting what you need, but also enjoying it. Issachar is the scholar. Scholarship provides wisdom, clarity, and direction. It is the foundation of all systems. Issachar is the dedication to immerse in study and education. Zebulon is the merchant, the business person personality. His role is to enter the marketplace and redeem the divine sparks within the material world, the secret treasure hidden in the sand. Deuteronomy 33:19. Since they like to quote goddamn Bible all the time, they can quote that. Zebulon complements Issachar. They forge a partnership. Zebulon supports the scholar. He funds houses of scholarship, which earns him a right to partake in the reward of Issachar's studies. Menashe represents the ability to not succumb to the powers of the Egypt Mizraim's constraints that want to make you forget your spiritual roots, to remain connected regardless of the challenges. And keep in mind that they did say Egypt, Mitzrayim. Ephraim takes it even further. It is not enough to just survive in an alien environment, but to thrive, to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Ephraim is the power to transform the difficulties into divine power. Benjamin is hungry for divine sparks in all existence, so like a ravenous wolf, Benjamin recognizes that his mission is to passionately seek out the divine energy embedded in matter, devour it, consume, and elevate it. The number 12 has been represented in the 20th and 21st centuries up until now. U.S. Super Congress of 12. You could just Google these things just to make sure that, you know, what we're talking about is legit. And it's real crazy. You can't tell me that it's not crazy. It's real crazy that when we started reading the 12, there was 12 viewers. And then it just jumped to 13 right now. Don't get it twisted that this is some spook or whatever. Esoteric versus exoteric. Esoteric will free you. Exoteric will keep you enslaved forever. And everybody except Moors deals with exoteric. Because, you're like, well, somebody come out, occult. Well, we deal with esoteric. I know Moors that deal with occult. So, yeah, so Moors. I don't care if you don't have a status and you deal with esoteric. You mean nothing to me. Zero. You have to have a status to activate all this. And if you don't have a status, shut your mouth, go get a status, and then come at the table and let's sit down and have a conversation about something. 12 Masonic signs of recognition. European Union flag has a circle of 12 stars. Himmler and his 12 knights in the Nazi SS. Then, let us look at how this number affects our daily lives. 12 signs of the Zodiac, 12 months of the year, 12 hours of the day, 12 hours of night, 12 inches in a foot, 12 days of Christmas, 12 grades in school, 12 step programs, 12 jurors, 12 notes before the octave, 12 eggs in a dozen, 12 years of childhood before the teens. The number 12 is mentioned several times in the Bible. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 brothers of Joseph, 12 judges of Israel, 12 great patriarchs, 12 Old Testament prophets, 12 kings of Israel, 12 princes of Israel, 12 jewels of the high priest. We can see this theme repeated throughout ancient history like no other number. The oldest story that I could find, that of the tale of the 12 native princes, the Dod-Karchi, Dodecarchy, of Herodotus and Diodorus, where Psammetichus defeated his 11 co-regents at Memphis. The number 12 is derived from the 12 courts of columns in the labyrinth, which, according to Herodotus and Diodorus, were built by the 12 princes, whereas this gigantic building had already been standing 1,500 years. 12 hours of night assigned to Osiris as his companions and assessors, and personifying gods, at whose head was Horus, the rising sun. Izdubar of ancient Babylon and his 12 great adventures. Hercules, the sun god, and his 12 laborers. Council of 12 of the Areopagus, under which were besides subordinate councils of 12. Alexander and his 12 cheddars. 12 drotters, who presided over the Odinic mysteries, evidently personified the 12 holy and ineffable names of Odin. 12 sons of Romulus. 12 Luperci, priests of Pan, were introduced into Rome by Romulus. 12 Olympians. 12 bedsmen. 12 knights of King Arthur's Round Table, the Zodiac Circle. 12 satyrs of wild men appointed by the witch Caleb to accompany St. George. 12 followers of Buddha, 12 followers of Quetzalcoatl, Charlemagne with his 12 peers, down to the electoral chapter of the temple with its chief. The 12 original points of Freemasonry. The tribes of Israel, Zodiac tribes. The great secret passed down from Jacob in Genesis 49 is that each tribe of Israel represents a sign of the Zodiac. When Jacob pronounced the blessing on each of his sons before his death, he left enough clues to match the character of each son to a sign of the Zodiac. Jacob understood the Zodiac and his sons, and the ministry of the Holy Spirit inspired his communication so that latter generations would be able to know the truth. Right? Latter individuals will be able to know the truth. Jacob blessed his sons in order of their birth. He began with Reuben. Reuben was passed over from receiving the inheritance of the firstborn because he committed adultery with Bilhah, his father's concubine. He symbolizes Capricornus, the goat. which was sacrificed for sin to atone for the sins of Israel, so the Lord would pass over their sins. Simeon was a criminal, a murderer, and cruel to animals. He symbolizes Scorpius, the scorpion, which represents the evil one. Levi was also a criminal. Funny how these 12... Levi was also a criminal, but his descendants became priests and keepers of the law. He symbolizes Pisces, the two fish, one pointed toward heaven, the other toward the ecliptic, which represents a priest who intercedes for the believer. Judah was given the firstborn right of rulership of the tribe. He was called a lion, which symbolizes Leo. The Lord Jesus Christ is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Zebulun would dwell by the seashore. He symbolizes Aquarius, the water bearer. Ishtar was a donkey, the pack animal of Israel. He symbolizes Aries, the ram, the leader of the flock. The analogy is that he leads the other pack animals in a deployment. Dan, which means judge, minister justice. He symbolizes Libra, the balance scales, the symbol of justice. Gad was the raiding band. He symbolized Sagittarius, the archer. Asher would eat the fat of the land. He symbolizes Taurus, the bull. Naphtali was a doe. He symbolizes Virgo, the virgin. Joseph received the double blessing of the firstborn. His sons Ephraim and Manasseh were adopted by Jacob. Thus Ephraim and Manasseh symbolize Gemini, the twins which represent the double blessing. Benjamin was a ravenous wolf who ate the spoils of victory. Benjamin symbolized Cancer, the crab. So with the last 7 minutes, we just want to put some things on the record because, they made some statements in their little video that, there was a Moor that they were building within the video. And, they tormented this Moor to the point where he basically, pretty much took off, said, forget you clowns, I'm about to go eat something because you guys don't even know what you're talking about. So, we already addressed. First point, you're an Israelite before you're a Moor. Again, put it on the record. If you're Israelite, prove it. Don't tell me that Yahweh has your nationality card, Yahweh has your Hebrew Israelite paperwork. Right? Y'all got something to show to prove to me that you're Israelite. We can show a nationality card to prove that we're Moors. We can show receipts to prove that we showed our nationality card in order to not get charged taxes. Find me one of you Hebrews, one of you Hebrew Israelite, Great Millstone, ISP, whatever, if you call yourself Hebrew Israelite, find me one that can prove to you that they're a Hebrew Israelite. Not talk out their mouth, show me some type of papers or whatever to prove that. And don't even try to come with your 2014 or 2015 paperwork that you just got yesterday, because now you're starting to realize that if you want to be Hebrew, you need paperwork. I mean past stuff. We can go back to 1913 to show you nationality cards. So go back to, Keeper's Congregation and, F.S. Cherry and all those individuals who, Ben Amim and all those people. Show me some stuff back then to prove that you're Hebrew Israelites. Don't show me no modern day crap. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. And if you do have something that proves that you're Hebrew Israelite, show me the receipt that you used that. Show me something to prove that you showed that to the colonizer and they acknowledged it and gave you whatever it is, made you whatever, prove something. Moors could prove. We know Moors that used their nationality card and got on a plane and flew from wherever they're at to somewhere else and back home with a nationality card. Yes, we know Moors that did that. Yes, we know Moors that used their nationality card, no passport. Right? 2, lineage comes through father, not mother. If lineage comes through father, you guys are some patriarchal fags, because no man gave birth ever on the planet. And if you go check the record, the ancient people that all humanity comes from were androgynous people, which means they were male and female in one body. And those people weren't from the earth plane. That's why the Dogon, who are from Mali, don't call themselves Hebrew Israelite, because they're not even from this planet. That's why Doctor Who, who's not from this planet, came to Earth and put the fez on. To prove to you. That's why on Star Trek, when they were out there in the stars, and you can go validate this with Know the Ledge, Noble Drew Ali DVD, right? Know the Ledge did a documentary on DVD. It's on YouTube even, where they showed you the Star Trek clip where they played Iron Sheik music in the background, showing Captain Kirk and the crew going like this, and then the Moors coming through with the turbans or whatever. The guy kicked the carpet, and then they walk down the carpet, and then they do the 10 to greet each other. Islam, Captain Kirk, Spock and all that knew how to greet the Moors in the galactic world. And that's why Rick Smith did his lecture for Canaanland, Noble Drew Ali Day, about the Moor, the alien, and the Mason, which is on YouTube too. And he verified that Moors are galactic and not some earth plane crap. And you can also check his secondary or his primary lecture, European Confessions of a Moorish Legacy, where he verifies with documented fact that the Moors are galactic and cosmic and interdimensional and multidimensional and everything else that has nothing to do with the earth plane. Oh, but you know, he's Esau. You know, he's the devil, so we're not going to listen to him. Listen to some of this, Hebrew Israelites. Because we're not buying none of your crap that you're selling. Because you can't give me change in gold. So I'm not buying nothing that you have. Get the hell out of here. The tassel on the fez is a penis. Right? So this is Moors. Right, Moors? The Hebrew Israelites are saying that your tassel, this is what the Hebrew Israelites are saying, the great Millstone Hebrew Israelites. Let's see how much Moors are going to defend this. The Hebrew Israelites that call themselves Great Millstone are telling you, Moors, that your tassel is a penis. And you're gay because you choose to wear a tassel on your fez, which represents a penis. Let's see how much Moors do videos to defend that, since you got fezzes on and these guys are talking crap about your national headwear. Let's see who does something about it. And let's see who just keeps quiet. And we're not talking about Moors who already got stuff out and all that stuff. We're talking about Moors who don't say anything. Moors who like to play the background and only want to be Moors when, you know, stuff's going good. It's Shemitah time now. Draw Shemitahs. Let's behead some Hebrew Israelites, Moors. Right? So we're going to cut there because it's 7 o'clock. We got class to do. Forget these Hebrew Israelites. We'll beat them up another day with these questions that they got. And, you know, maybe we might touch on it in class. But so y'all stay close. We're just going to end this and come back for class. Islam.